MXTV is proudly brought to you by Swan Insurance, protecting motorcyclists since 1956. And Motul, quality oils for more than 150 years.
I'm Lee Hogan and welcome to another cracker episode of MXTV. I'm joined once again by Brendan Bell. Belly, it's almost the end of the series.
Oh, I know, it's a sad moment, mate, but let's not talk about that, Because I know we've got a massive show ahead.
We sure do, because on tonight's show, Macca's back with Where Are They Now? Belly goes to the WR250 launch. We check out all the action from this year's Manjimup 15,000. We sit down with FMX star Jarryd McNeil and I review the KTM 350 SX. Well, let's get the show started with Aussie FMX star and winner of the Best Whip comp at this year's Monster Energy Cup, Jarryd McNeil.
G'day guys, Jarryd McNeil here. Grew up in a small town, Deniliquin, Australia. Currently living in Temecula, California. One day my parents brought home PW50 and next thing you know I was about 2.5 years of age, I think I was back then. Just started going around the roundabout on the farm, just got the feel of riding. Dad used to run behind me and next thing you know we were going to the motocross tracks like the local ones and racing on the weekends as a family. Had 2 brothers and a sister, so we all got into riding dirt bikes and we had the big bus and going to local motocross tracks. So that'd be the start of my riding. How I get into freestyle motocross. A good friend of mine, Cade Mosick, was really good friends with Blake Williams and Cameron Sinclair. One day they came back from Mount Buller from a freestyle show they did up in the snow. And at that time I was racing Supercross and I had a freestyle ramp then and kind of, mucked around with my local friends on the ramp. And those guys came through town one day and called into my place. We had 50 acres with all the motocross tracks and supercross tracks and freestyle ramps. And Bilko and Cam came for a ride, so kind of looked at them and I was like, you know what, hey, I can do both. Like, this could be a dream. I could do both, race motocross and do freestyle. And that's what I planned on doing. In 2007, I won Australian Championship, and that was the same year I kind of got into freestyle demos through Cam and Bilko. 2008 and 9, I started doing more freestyle and was racing full-time at the same time, but it took a lot to keep my racing going, so I decided to do freestyle full-time in 2010, and that's what I do now, freestyle. I made the move to the USA because my career was kind of pointing this direction. It's kind of the heart of freestyle motocrossers here in Southern California. So basically packed my bags in 2010 through Nitro Circus and Travis Pastrana. I got an invite for my first ever X Games Best Whip. So pretty much just packed my bags, threw everything under the bus and headed off to the US for the first ever time. And here I am now, 4 years later. Day with me. Geez, my day has changed. 1 minute I'm at the gym to pretty much riding every day. Yeah, I wake up in the mornings, I'm either at the track or on the ramps. Occasionally go on the gym as much as I can. I would like to get in there a little more, but just trying to fit it in my schedule. Going out, riding my BMX bikes or my downhill bikes. Living in California, you kind of have the mountains really close. So going up there and riding my downhill bike, that's pretty fun. Go to the beach. I'm not a real big beach person, but it's close, it's near there. And hanging out with my friends, catching up with my sponsors, and that's about it really. That's a day with me. There's no real limits with freestyle. It's whatever you can do. You can express yourself in any way you want. Going out And racing, yeah, it takes a lot of demanding and skill and time. There's a lot more pressure, I guess, with doing that. Freestyle, I think, is a little more relaxed. And yeah, okay, like now I have to start going to the gym and being fit and healthier. Freestyle's kind of became more of a sport. The tricks are becoming a lot gnarlier. I just like the freedom. I have my own style on the bike and I can express that however I want. So I think it just come down to being free on the bike and showing people and entertaining people and putting a smile on people's faces with riding. So that'd be the biggest thing.
Hello, this is Jeremy Wilkie. I'm from MX Tech in the United States, and I'm here at EICMA today. Today I'm going to give you an MXTV tech tip about suspension tuning when you're at the track and some of the things that we have to do as riders to make our bikes work correctly. And we all know in the morning you show up and a track's nice and smooth and maybe it's watered well and ripped deep. So your dirt's going to be very loamy. In a situation like that, you want to run a lot of compression and rebound, basically so the wheels can follow the ground and you don't get drawn down into the deeper loam. As the track dries off and gets harder and starts to blow off, it'll get down to a hard, rougher base. What you're going to start by doing is actually taking some rebound out of the rear shock and softening the compression to improve the feel. If the track has got a lot of steep downhills with big braking bumps, you might actually have to maybe reduce the high-speed compression on the rear shock to take weight off the front wheel and improve the feel in those braking bumps without making the front end, any stiffer and thereby losing feel and traction. Suspension tuners throw around a lot of terms like, adding compression or adding rebound damping. And generally our perspective is we're talking about it from a damping coefficient standpoint. So when we say adding compression, we're saying make the suspension stiffer in the direction that the suspension travels when it compresses, or we're making it slower in the direction that the suspension returns after hitting bumps or obstacles. It really kind of comes down to the type of dirt, okay? So if it's deeper and loam, the bump profile is actually big and round, okay? So the speed of the components is very slow. And so our objective there is to actually add compression or slow the response of the suspension so we don't G-load into every bump. So it's a little bit counterintuitive, but then as the bumps become more of a hard pack format, they're going to be sharper at a higher frequency and lower amplitude. And in that situation, we're actually going to want softer compression. A lot of times, because suspension's a compromise, we find ourselves in a situation where an adjustment that might improve the bike in one area will make it worse in the other. And a challenge as a rider, because we're all suspension tuners, we have to modify our bikes to make them work better, is to think about it from the chassis standpoint. So a lot of times if the clickers end up in a compromised situation, think about how you can adjust your sag or maybe the fork height to change the attitude of the bike to get the suspension damping where it's the least compromise, but you can still improve the overall bike handling by bike setup and not just clicker setup. There you go. I hope that's helpful the next time you're out at the track, and thank you, MXTV.
Altegra and MXTV are giving you the chance to win a custom-designed MXTV Altegra marquee valued at $1,494. Altegra is a name synonymous with quality, and their heavy-duty frame is the toughest on the market. Altegra are committed to remaining the market leaders, with marquees coming in a newly developed wheeled bag and with a full range of parts, including walls available. You can't beat an Altegra frame. Simply share and like the Altegra page on Facebook and the MXTV page to go into the draw to win.
He's a four-time Supercross champion!
F1 Moto is Australia's leading online retailer for performance and rebuild products. We have most aftermarket brands available for parts and accessories. Some of the performance products available for junior and senior dirt bikes are from VHM, HGS Exhausts, Nihilo Performance Products, Talon Wheels, RHK Parts and Accessories, available from f1moto.com.au or our new showroom at Appin, New South Wales. MXTV is proudly supported by KTM, Alpine Stars, Kawasaki, and States MX. Thanks to Milwaukee Power Tools, each week we're giving away a Milwaukee toolkit valued at $480. This week's prize pack consists of the ever-handy M12 stick light, M12 job site radio, which is perfect for any workshop or at the track, as well as the M12 fuel hammer drill driver kit with 2 M12 batteries. Like all M12 products, these batteries are compatible across the range of over 40 tools and heated gear.
Welcome back to MXTV, thanks to Modal. In this week's bike review, Lee tests the middle brother of their KTM MX range, the 350SX.
The Nunawading and District Motorcycle Club is the location for today's test of the brand new 2015 model KTM SXF 350. Now, featuring on the new model, first of all, internally, we've got the 4CS forks. We've also got some new fork protectors that don't wrap around anymore, which means you don't have to take the forks out to change these things. Very cool. Cosmetically, we've got black rims and we've got a very bright, almost fluorescent orange frame, just like the factory bikes. So up the front, we've got a smaller front axle, and this takes away a little bit of the rigidity. Now, we've mentioned what's changed, but there's also a couple of very cool features of the KTM that have moved forward onto the new model bike. You can't go past the push button starting mechanism. No need to kick these big girls into life. And obviously we need to make mention of the Brembo brakes. They're just second to none, extremely strong, and they'll stop you quicker than anything else on the market, that's for sure. So the interesting thing to remember with this bike, it's 350 cc's, it's not a 250 lights bike, and it's certainly not a 450 open class bike. It sort of sits in the middle somewhere, but it has to race up against the 450. And what I'm interested to find out is whether it feels like a fast 250 or a detuned 450. We're gonna have to wait and find out. Well, it was great to get out and ride the 350 and just see where it fitted in the big scheme of things. And straight off the bat, I realised that with my extra body weight, you can't torque these things around like you can a 450. You really have to let them rev a lot higher. Now, just to make mention of the type of rider that I feel suited to the 350, not that long ago we had the ADB shootout for the open class, and Raceline Pirelli Suzuki rider Jarryd Stapleton really felt at home on the 350 KTM. Jarryd's exceptionally light. I think he's even under 60 kilo, up around 58. And the fact of how light he is, it means that he's going to feel a little bit more horsepower from this bike, and it's not going to buck and kick him around anywhere near as much. As far as suspension goes, the linkage, these brand new forks that we're seeing on the new 2015 KTMs, they all share the same handling characteristic, which is exceptionally agile. These bikes literally go wherever you put them on the track. In some nice grippy circumstances here today at Nunawading, you really get to feel how powerful these brakes are. The front Brembo brakes would stop a Mack truck, they're that strong. The rear brake, the Brembos, from time to time, the rear brake on these bikes can be a little bit on the touchy side, and quite often I've found with the KTM, putting in a slightly harder compound rear pad tends to take away a bit of the touchiness. My favourite quality of the KTM 350, the new 2015 model, is the handling characteristics and how agile they are. It almost makes me want to hop on a supercross track and have another ride again, but then I wake up to myself. As far as what I'd change on this, first of all I'd start off with a harder compound rear brake pad. I'd put a slightly different exhaust system, maybe a PC on, just to get that to bark a little bit more. I'd also probably throw on a set of titanium Raptor foot pegs. Just really like the bigger pegs as far as a bit of security for my old ankles. Well, that completes our test here at Nunawading for the new KTM 2015 model 350 SXF. I really had a good time. For the right rider, it's definitely worthwhile having a look at, that's for sure. Well, thanks for joining us here at Nunawading.
For all your motorcycle insurance needs, visit swanmotorcycle.com.au.
G'day everyone, Macca here again. Welcome to Where Are They Now? Now today I'm with another Australian and Supercross multi-winner, James Deacon. How did you get involved in the sport of motocross?
My parents were dairy farmers
and I just wanted a motorbike, and I actually I had a little trail bike that I rode around, and I just pestered mum and dad for a bike. It was an RM125C 1978 model. I got some Joframa body armour out of ADB magazine because I used to ride, that was my Bible, and I got all second-hand stuff, and I started going all right. People started to notice me. I was fairly lucky because the local Suzuki dealership actually gave me a bike. I had a fairly rapid rise then, and I got into the Marlborough Yamaha dealer team in 1987 and 88. I had to move to Sydney, and I moved down and lived with Matt Mladen. Remember Matt? He's 7-time AMA road racing champion now. And then the next couple of years I was on to Australia in 89 and 90. I retired in 1990, probably unceremoniously, I suppose you might say, because I had a problem with my shoulder dislocating and just did it one too many times, and I just walked away, and I basically didn't touch a motorcycle then for about 20 years.
What did you think then? You go, well, hang on, I've had a pretty cruisy life. I've been riding motorcycles and all that sort of stuff. I've had a great time. What did you do?
I went through a torrid time with what I was going to do with my life, and I think I went through a bit of depression and all sorts of things that I had to deal with. And I was a plumber by trade. I did an apprenticeship, and I didn't want to do that because I really wondered what I was going to do with my life. Eventually, a friend of mine would pester me and wanted me to sell cars with him. He was a car dealer. His dad was and he was. And he raced bikes with me. He said it's great fun, and it was good fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I think I'm a bit of a salesman anyway. So nowadays, I own a business called Carmart in Morayfield and Caboolture area.
Married and kids?
I'm married to Pippa, and I've got 2 kids, Griffin and Cammy. Griff's 14, Cammy's 11. Griffy's racing bikes now. I didn't really want to follow him around the racing circuit, but I said, look, we'll dabble. We'll go to a couple of club days and see if you like it. And unfortunately, he loves it, and now he's addicted to it. And now he pushes me, and I go, oh, who do you remind me of? You remind me of me pushing my parents, you know. And it's great because I found my passion again, you know.
What are your greatest memories that you had of the sport?
Well, I suppose I've been a bit of a bridesmaid in the motorcycle fraternity. I've sort of got seconds and thirds in Australian titles and on a number of occasions. And
that's still pretty good.
Yeah, it is, but not many people remember the guys who got second and third. So. However, nowadays, racing the vintage scene and racing all the old guys, people do appreciate it, it turns out. But the lifestyle, the fun, I mean, I consider myself very lucky to be involved in the motorcycle industry and meeting so many wonderful people and dealing. Look, it hasn't done me any harm. I've been very successful in business, and I attribute that to motocross because motocross is a tough sport, you know, and I think if you can succeed at this sport, it throws you a lot of challenges, and if you can exceed at this, you can succeed at anything. And that's why I'm happy to let my son do it, you know.
James, thank you very much for being part of Where Are They Now? It's great to talk to you. Mate, we'll see you next time, but remember, if it's classic, it's fantastic.
Hands-On Kawasaki Motorcycles has over 25 years of professional experience in the industry. We offer quality Kawasaki motorcycles, ATVs, mules and jet skis. From finance to insurance, Hands-On features state-of-the-art workshop facilities with highly trained and experienced factory-trained technicians. We have a vast range of accessories, and if it's Kawasaki, then we have it. Contact us now, and don't forget to mention MXTV for a great deal. Hands-On Kawasaki, everything Kawasaki. See all of Australia's best off-road riders when the Insure My Ride Australian Endurocross Nationals returns again for more action-packed Endurocross in 2015. 3 Saturday night events all under lights. Saturday 7th of February at Archerfield Speedway, Brisbane, Queensland. Saturday 28th of February at Sydney Dragway, Eastern Creek, New South Wales. Saturday 14th of March at Calder Park Raceway, Diggers Rest, Victoria. Check out www.enduro-x.com.au for all the details. MXTV is proudly supported by Suzuki, Bell Helmets, Yamaha and Milwaukee. In this week's product review, we take a look at a product that'll be handy after a hard year of riding and racing. Your bolts will look a bit worse for wear. Bolt has just the solution, with full plastics fastener kits and factory-style replacement hardware kits. The Kawasaki Pro Pack contains 170 pieces of OEM-style hardware in factory style and finish, including factory-style hex flange bolts with captured washers, shroud bolts and seat bolts, subframe bolts, fork guard bolts, rotor bolts, a full set of black sprocket bolts, valve stem grommets and caps, hardware for chain guides, Fuji lock nuts, and drain plug washers. Additionally, they include a metal locking axle nut to eliminate stock castle nut cotter pin. The full plastics fastener kits have factory-style front and rear fender, number plate, seat, side panels and radiator shrouds. Both kits are available for Honda, Kawasaki, KTM, late model Husky, Suzuki and Yamaha. For information, contact your nearest motorcycle dealer.
Welcome back to MXTV. Well, everyone loves an exclusive, and that's exactly what we've got here when Belly was invited recently to the brand new launch of the WR Yamaha 250F. Let's check it out.
Hi, I'm Sean Goldhawk, Yamaha Motor Australia Communications Manager. Today we're launching the all-new WR250F at Coffs Harbour, just outside the Big Banana there. The bike is basically a YZ for the bush. What we've got is a YZ engine, a YZ frame, YZ suspension. It's actually easier to tell you what has been bolted on, what is new for the WR, than what is different from the YZ. It's got lights, it has a kickstand or a side stand, has a bash plate, trail computer. It's got a 6-speed close ratio gearbox, so you've got a gear for every situation you find yourself in. It has a radiator fan as well for those tough uphills. Just taking the YZ with the reverse fed engine, so the clean air comes in the front and the exhaust header exits out of the rear. The reason they've done that for mass centralisation, so the cylinder can be slanted rearward, and that brings all the weight nice and compact into the middle of the bike. It has massive benefits for handling, as we found out when we tested it today. We ride out to Boris's place. He lives out in Karamba in the countryside near Dorrigo. He's developed a complex there with endurocross and cut his own grass track, sensational place. And then we'll go for a trail ride. So we'll go for about 2 or 3 hour, maybe 100, 120k trail ride. It's really important to get people to ride the bike, and the press, not just to tell them about it, but actually to take them on a trail ride and to show them as many different riding environments and circumstances as we can. That's why we've done all this, so they can get a much better appreciation of how good this bike is.
Josh Coplins is a pretty big name for Yamaha. And
Josh came back on board with Yamaha. We knew of his development abilities. In fact, most of the MXGP teams still would love his services. Josh provides the speed, he provides the feedback, he provides what we want with the balance of the bike.
come back in after a lap and he'll tweak this and he'll tweak that, and everything he gives back to the engineers and to the mechanics, he relays that information back to them and they're able to make the fine-tuning adjustments to the bike. And that basically helps fine-tune the motorcycle into a production bike as we see it today.
What I loved about it was the suspension. WRs have always had a reputation for being really plush, really stable as a trail bike, and that certainly hasn't changed. And if anything, it's much better than the previous models, and it seems to hold up better in the stroke.
Probably the gearbox, you know, it's so easy to ride, like up the hills, and it seems like always have the right gear. Last year on the 5-speed gearbox, it was a really good bike, but I always sort of struggled with top end speed or just being a gear too low, and this one just seems to fix all those problems.
The handling is awesome. It's such a light little bike. Everything's compact in the middle. In the single trails out here today, just you can throw that thing over and backwards and forwards, and it's just so centralised. All the weight's in the middle, so I can just tip, and everyone here says the same thing. You can just tip it in and out.
Just its predictability, what I can get away with. I can come into corners and not know the trail and be quite aggressive and come in hot, and it sharpens up, and I can still pull the turns off and still pull off a good power slide and keep it going and actually look good doing it.
For someone that's not riding regularly, and even if you were, or you could ride a really high level ability and wanted to race, you could take the bike literally as it is and go and do that. It's very impressive.
I always say most bikes are pretty much similar, but Yamaha really hit the mark with this bike. It's a fantastic package from suspension to engine to the whole ergonomics of the bike. It fits very well for someone of my ability to ride. I think it's really on the mark. It's a fantastic package. Well, that's it for the WR250 2015 launch. It's been a fantastic 2 days. I must thank Yamaha for inviting us out here, and of course Detour Tours for 2 days of unbelievable riding out here. We really did have some fantastic trails and open trails and some great lunches put on as well. So thanks very much, guys, and keep watching because we've got one of these babies long term. We're going to have it for 12 months. Check out our Facebook and website, and we'll have some updates on what we put this thing through for the next 12 months.
All right, guys, it's almost time to go, but don't forget we have now got 2 sensational competitions up and running.
We certainly have, mate. Don't forget the old Tigra one. A day like today, nice sunny day, you need the shade over you.
You sure do. And if you want to go in with a chance to win, all you have to do is go to our MXTV Facebook page, like and share us. It's as simple as that.
What do we say every week? What do I say every week? Don't forget Instagram, Hogan Racing 11 and MXTV show.
Good times. Thanks for the shout out, Belly. Well, on behalf of Brendan Bell and myself, thanks so much for joining us this week. Until next week, though, make sure that you hold it on. Oh!
It's weird not looking at the camera.
Oh, he's hit the tree.
I'm not made for singing.
I have his mouth open and everything.
I did too.
Oh. You all right, mate, or what? You all right?
Yeah.
MXTV is proudly brought to you by Swan Insurance, protecting motorcyclists since 1956. And Motul, quality oils for more than 150 years.